What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Predict the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. Very, very close now. Only 1 point in it, going on to the last 2 weekends of the season. We do have a double game week this week because Newcastle and Brighton are up first. But the way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. It's 5 points for a goal, 3 points for an assist, and like I said, this week is a double game week, so Newcastle and Brighton players could be worth double points. And let's go on to the Newcastle and Brighton game. Sim has gone for 2-2. I have gone for 2-1. It is a prediction that we did make in the last episode of the Spurspective, but my thinking is I think that Newcastle will get the job done in their last, well, it's not actually their last home game of the season, but their penultimate home game of the season. I think Brighton are obviously playing really well at the moment. They did get battered last time away from home against Everton in a 5-1 display, but I think this game Newcastle will just about get over the line in a really good game of football.
Yeah, I think, look, it's actually a massive game for both teams because obviously Brighton need the points. Actually, do you reckon Brighton are even looking at top four? Do you reckon they still believe they can get it? I mean, if they've got an outside chance of it, they're going to obviously put everything into it, obviously to get top six as well. They're playing really, really well. And I think Brighton, it suits them a bit more when they play teams like Newcastle or even Arsenal, when they come at them a bit and actually try and attack them, because they like being pressed. They like teams coming at them so they can play around them and exploit the space. Newcastle, in a weird way, they're playing well, but last 2 games, they've kind of changed it up a bit. They've gone Isaac and Wilson in their last 2 games rather than beforehand when they were kind of starting Isaac and bringing on Wilson, or vice versa. And I don't know, I feel like there haven't been the kind of dynamic hasn't been as strong in a way, with both of them starting up front together, albeit they're both in such good form it's hard to know who to drop. So I wonder if he's going to change it up in this game or if he's going to keep those two together. But I think Brighton are playing really well. I think this kind of game suits them. They're super confident after beating Arsenal 3-0. But Newcastle is still a very, very strong team. So I've gone for a 2-2 draw.
Let's move on to Tottenham against Brentford. Tim's gone for 1-1. I've gone for 1-0 to Spurs. I mean, Brentford, especially Ivan Toney now being suspended for this game and suspended for the next 8 months, I think goals will be hard to come by for Brentford. At home, Spurs are performing well. And in our last home game of the season, I'm backing Spurs to take all 3 points in this one. Brentford as well, like away from home recently, they have not been playing well, and they've not been really finding the net too often. So I've gone for Spurs to take all 3 points in this one.
Yeah, I've been a bit disappointed, to be honest, in a way, with Tottenham's last 2 games on the ball, because I know against Palace we were very solid defensively, but again, we weren't creating so many chances. And against Villa, apart from late on, we really did struggle to create against them. So I do think about that dynamic, and I just think if Brentford, from their set pieces, they're very, very strong. Even without Ivan Toney, I back them to cause us a lot of trouble. I do think we have the quality to get a goal, but I do think if Brentford do equalise, I think we are going to struggle to get that second goal. So, and I think they might score. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw, unfortunately.
Next up is Bournemouth against Manchester United. Both of us going for Man United wins. Sim's gone for 2-0 here.
Yeah, I've gone for 2-0. Bournemouth away. Bournemouth, obviously, fairly strong at home. United, not so good away. But United, they know they need to win this game to make sure they're getting that top 4 spot. Defensively, recently as well, they have kind of been a bit better, keeping some clean sheets. And I do think they have a lot more quality than Bournemouth. Bournemouth know they're safe. I feel like that extra bit of fight might have left them, albeit they do want to end their season really well at home. So I do think they can give United some trouble, but I think United, knowing they have to win this game, will be too strong. So I've gone for 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, similar thinking, to be honest, but I've just gone for 1-0 instead of 2-0. I think it really will be a tight game. Last game at home for Bournemouth, I think they're going to give it their all, but I think Man United's quality will just about shine through in a 1-0 win. Next up is Fulham against Crystal Palace. Both of us going for draws. I've gone for 1-1. Sim's gone for 2-2. I mean, my thinking behind this one is Palace, they have looked really good since Roy Hodgson has taken over, but they are kind of giving away points away from home. Fulham as well, ending the season quite well, to be honest, but I couldn't really split the side, so I've gone for 1-1.
Yeah, I think, look, end of season, it could go one of two ways. It could go a game where like both teams are just on the beach and but it could be like a bit of a bore draw, or it could be a nice open game where both teams are kind of throwing caution to the wind. I'm going to go with the latter, even though Zaha is out again. I think Olise and Eze have proven they can fill in instead of him. I think Mitrovic is back for this game as well for Fulham. I do think he'll probably come in and start, so that could give Fulham an extra bit of dynamic there. So I've gone for a nice open 2-2 draw at Fulham.
All right, next up is Liverpool against Aston Villa. Sim's gone for 3-1 to Liverpool here.
Yeah, and I think that Liverpool, look, they're in such great form. 7 wins on the trot. They look really, really strong at Anfield as well. Villa, despite the fact that they were in good form, it has started to slip a bit. They're not looking, even against Spurs, I thought they played well, but I don't think they were that impressive against us, even though they beat us 2-1. So I know they've got a massive fight on their hands to get their last European spot. I do think they're going to have more tools to hurt Liverpool on the counter-attack than maybe Leicester did on Monday night. So I do think they'll get a goal, but I think Liverpool, the way they're playing at the moment, they're going to be too strong for this Villa side. So I've gone for 3-1.
Yeah, for me, Villa have been a bit disappointing on the road in the last couple of games. Failed to score against Manchester United and against Wolves, albeit both of those teams have very strong home form. But Liverpool themselves have very strong home form, and they've kept 3 clean sheets in a row at Anfield, 2 clean sheets in a row at Anfield, 3 clean sheets in a row totally. So I think Liverpool are having their best moment in the season. They're looking really impressive, and I think they're going to take this form into the start of next season as well. So I think Liverpool will win this fairly comfortably at a 2-0 victory. Next up is Wolves against Everton. Both of us gone for the exact same scoreline here in 0-0. Everton desperately need the points down at the bottom. Wolves, they're just not conceding many goals at home and getting really good results at home, but I can see Everton shutting up shop and both of these teams kind of cancelling each other out 0-0.
Yeah, I think this will be it's a massive game for Everton. I think it's just a must not lose at the moment for Everton, because if they can get that draw, obviously whatever happens is going to keep things alive on the last day, but that draw could be vital for their survival. And I think Sean Dyche is going to make sure that they're not conceding any goals, because they are struggling to score right now. Even though they scored 5 against Brighton, that was definitely an outlier in their season, especially under Sean Dyche. And I think he's going to concentrate massively on that clean sheet. And I do think if Calvert-Lewin's out as well, will they struggle to kind of hold the ball up like they did against Brighton and really create those opportunities? I don't see Wolves being as open as someone like a team like Brighton were as well. So will McNeil get that same space he was getting on the counter? I doubt it. I think they'll struggle to score, but I think defensively wise, Wolves aren't the biggest scorers, so I think they'll have a decent chance of keeping a clean sheet. So 0-0.
All right, next up is Nottingham Forest against Arsenal. Sim's gone for 2-1. I've gone for 2-2. And you know what? I was flopping and changing between these two scorelines, and I ended up on the 2-2. And my reasoning behind it, I just think this game obviously means a lot more to Nottingham Forest than it does to Arsenal, with the league pretty much done and dusted now. Forest just need all the points that they can to ensure their safety, albeit they are in a bit of a better spot than some of their counterparts lower down in the league. But Forest have been performing really well at home, and Arsenal actually have a history of not doing well at the City ground. So I've gone for them to split the spoils at 2-2.
I've gone with Arsenal just to shade it. I think Nottingham Forest will give their all to make sure. Look, if they win, I think there's that survival pretty much sealed in this game. So I think they're going to obviously have a good go of it, but they're going to try and make sure they get something out of the game. I just think Arsenal will want a bit of reaction after losing 3-0 really badly at home to Brighton. I don't think it'll be like a massively brilliant performance, but I think they do have a bit too much quality for this Forest side, albeit they do have a good home record. I still think Arsenal, this young side, will want to kind of try and have a decent end to the season, so I have backed them to win this game 2-1.
All right, next up, West Ham against Leeds. I've gone for 2-1 to Leeds. Sim's gone for 3-2 to Leeds.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-2. I think obviously West Ham have European exploits in midweek. Whether they rest players or not, I'm not 100% sure whether they will. Obviously, we know the season's over for them. They're safe. Leeds, really big result they had against Newcastle. That will give them confidence going into this game. And what I envisage is like Leeds having a really fast start, scoring a few goals. West Ham kind of then bring on some subs, maybe Paquetá and Bowen. If they're not starting, they can come off the bench, start changing the game for West Ham, putting it back in their favour. Leeds' defence is still pretty poor, so I do think West Ham have some goals in them, but whether they'll be enough to overcome if Leeds take a good lead, I'm not 100% sure. So I've gone for a 3-2 to Leeds.
Yeah, I think a lot might be riding on what happens tonight in the semi-final. I think if they do lose tonight and go out, then I think they might play a bit of a stronger team than maybe they envisaged if they did go through, because they just wouldn't want to risk injury for any of those players going to a European final. But I've gone for 2-1 to Leeds, because I just think this game just means so much more to Leeds. West Ham, their Premier League season is completely done. Like I said, they've got European football to contend with as well. And I think Big Sam, he showed fight in this Leeds team, playing a Newcastle team and drawing 2-2 right at the death. So I think they'll get it right this game and win 2-1 against West Ham at the London Stadium. Next up is Brighton against Southampton. Both of us gone for the exact same scoreline here in 4-0 to Brighton. Look, Southampton are completely down and they're just getting battered week in, week out at the moment. And I think Brighton will compound to that. The way they're playing, the amount of importance in this game for Brighton as well, I just can't see anything but an absolute smashing for Brighton.
Yeah, I think Southampton are low on confidence. They'll obviously want to have playing for a bit of pride, trying to get a result in this kind of game. But I think Brighton will see it coming. I can't if Southampton play a low block, I can't see them holding out this Brighton side, and especially if Southampton come out and try and end the season with a few goals, Brighton will absolutely kill them either way, in my opinion. Especially with their young, vibrant forwards. So I can't see anything but a resounding Brighton win here.
Yeah. Next up, Manchester City against Chelsea. Sim's gone for 4-1 here.
I've gone for 4-1. I think, obviously, City win the league if they win this game off the back of a 4-0 home win against Real Madrid as well, where they absolutely battered them. I do envisage a few changes for Man City from the midweek game against Real Madrid, but they'll still have a very strong team out. Chelsea, unbeaten in 2, which is amazing form for them, given how this season has gone. So I do think they actually do have quite good players on the counter, like Sterling and Madueke if they play. So I have a feeling they might get a goal, but City are just going to run rampant going the other end, in my opinion. So I won for 4-1.
Yeah, I've gone for 3-0. Chelsea have not impressed me whatsoever. Yeah, they are unbeaten in their last 2, but I don't think that to take anything into account from that into this game. Man City, if they win this, they win the league, I think. So I think there's going to be party mode at the Etihad, especially after that 4-0 drubbing of Real Madrid last night. And I think the goals will fly in as well. So I've gone for 3-0 to Manchester City. Next up is Newcastle against Leicester. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Newcastle. I've gone for 4-1. I actually think that this could be actually tight when the games start, but I think once the games progress, and Leicester really need to go for it because they need a win in this game. They really need to get points on the board if they've got any sort of chance to have a fighting chance last game of the season. But I think the more they come forward, the more Newcastle are going to catch them out, especially with the forward line that they've got. So I've gone for 4-1.
Yeah, I've gone for just a bit of a tighter game just because Leicester have to try and sort out their backline and try and do something to make sure they stop leaking so many goals. But it's going to be so difficult against this Newcastle team who are definitely scoring goals at the moment. They know they need this win as well to get top 4, so they're not going to take it easy for Leicester. But I think it is kind of do or die for Leicester, and I do see them making a tight fist of it, but I can't see anything but Newcastle coming out with a victory, and that probably... I mean, it won't mathematically relegate Leicester unless Everton also win, but it might. It could be. It was probably going to be the end for them.
Yeah. And all right, well, let's move on to the star men, and it's a Brighton double header here. Sims risking the De Zerbi roulette for Evan Ferguson, and I have gone for Julio Enciso, the man on form at the moment.
I wanted to go Enciso, but
I know you did. I knew exactly your thinking. I knew it.
Go for him, so I was like, oh, he's going to go for Enciso. I can't. So look, the only reason I went for Ferguson because he actually started on Sunday against Arsenal, which is his first game back for a few games, his first start, and I actually think he looked really sharp, and he was giving the Arsenal centre-backs a lot of trouble. So he might not start both games, but if he does start even the Southampton game, he could get easily a couple of goals. So that's why I've gone for him.
Yeah, I've gone for Enciso just because he looks like the danger man for Brighton at the moment. I think he is actually the best performing Brighton player going forward as it stands right now. I was actually thinking of Evan Ferguson, but I'm just not sure if he's going to play the amount of minutes which I would want over 2 games. So I've gone for Enciso because I know he'll play the majority of the minutes over the next 2 games. Away at Newcastle was a tough one, but at home to Southampton, you got to back Enciso to do something there. So there we have it. I've gone Enciso. Sim's gone for Evan Ferguson. As we move in to the penultimate weekend of the Premier League, let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on our predictions, and put your predictions in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.